Shalom, shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to YAHAWAH, BAHASHIM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHIM, RICANS. Double honors to the elders and apostles of great Muslim who taught us this truth. And shalom to the mighty Akim and Akhwath out there who are diligently waiting to be delivered from this final captivity. And today, I just want to go over. I was reading, the scriptures, and I got to 2nd Esdras chapter 3. So I just wanted to do a quick. It's not so much as a breakdown, but I just wanted to go over this because I thought this was a very beautiful / heartfelt verse. Like it really resonated with me. So I just wanted to share it. Okay, so I'm gonna just read through the whole chapter, and that'll basically be the video. So hopefully, maybe. This will be a faith booster, or maybe you can understand or see. Maybe it will resonate with your spirit as well. But getting into it, 2nd Esdras chapter 3 from the top. In the 13th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babylon, and lay troubled upon my bed, and my thoughts came up over my heart, for I saw the desolation of Zion, and the wealth of them that dwell at Babylon. And my spirit was sore moved, so that I began to speak words full of fear to the Most High, and said, O Lord, who bearest rule, thou spakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people, and gavest a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hand, and didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. Okay, so firstly, Esdras is in Babylon, and he sees the desolation of Zion. Zion being, Israel. All right, is the home city of Israel, and then Babylon, the home city of our oppressors. Okay, at the time, well, our oppressors extends to today and back then as well, but for this it's back then at the time. All right, so basically he's heartbroken. He's kind of heartbroken that he sees Zion is in desolation, meaning destroyed, and Babylon is thriving, prospering. Okay, so now let's continue on to see why he thinks like that. All right, and another thing is, this is like a very beautiful story as well. It actually transcends a story as well. That's how deep the Bible is. And not to use the word deep, but I think that's the only proper phrasing, because there's nothing else. I don't really like using the word deep, but like it's just something that only Israel can understand. I think that's a better way to put it. Verse 6, and thou leadest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted, before ever the earth came forward. Okay, a Garden of Eden. All right. Verse 7, and unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest death in him and in his generation, of whom came nation, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number. So Adam was basically, he was in heaven, basically. He was in heaven. I guess the best way to describe it would be like a prototype heaven, and he was, he wasn't in the new covenant / second covenant, where Israel is going to be in when they reach heaven, where they're going to be unable to break the law, and in the sense that he was in a prototype heaven where the conditions was perfect, but the people weren't perfect, or the people being Adam and Eve, they weren't perfect, and the actual real heaven, or the non-prototype heaven, I guess, would be the perfect conditions, just as the Garden of Eden was, and the perfect people, which the children of Israel are going to be, because the law is going to be in their inward parts. All right. So, continuing on, still on verse 7, after the being in heaven and following after the ways of the Most High, that's eternal life. But because Adam didn't follow the ways of the Most High all the way through, there was basically a breach in contract, and that breach in contract led to the abolishment or the confiscation of the eternal life clause, I guess. In order to put it into like a literal sense, or a way that we can see a parallel today. Okay, so because of the breach in contract, he lost out on eternal life. Okay, and the breach of the contract introduced death. So before breaking the contract, there was no such thing as death, but because he broke the contract, death was introduced. Okay, so, and as a result, then other nations, people, tribes, and stuff like that, there was the different races and the different sub-race of people. Like Israel is a race of people, and then the different tribes are the different, subsections of people, like that, just like all the other nations have as well. But continuing on, verse 8, and every people walked after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments. Okay, so as those people were created, they didn't keep the commandments of the Most High, and they did whatever they wanted to. Okay, so they weren't perfect, even though they came from Adam, who initially was perfect, but then transgressed. Verse 9, and again in process of time thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwell in the world, and destroyeth them. So, same thing as death, but the flood represented death, and that destroyed the multitude of the people. Okay, verse 10, and it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Like as I said. Verse 11, nevertheless one of them thou leftest, namely Noah with his household, of whom came all righteous men. Okay, so Noah is an offspring of Adam, and he, out of all the people that was during the time of the flood, was kept alive. Him and his household, his 3 sons and his wife, and then his 3 sons' wives. All right, and out of righteous men, in terms of the Noah's son, and then Shem, and then down the line Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, and then verse 12, and all Slakia. And it happened, verse 12, and it happened that when they that dwelt upon the earth began to multiply, and had forgotten them many children, and were a great people, they began again to be more ungodly than the first. Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham, as I said. It was Noah, then Shem, then down the line at Abraham. Verse 14, him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. So Jacob became a Slakia. Verse 16 again. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau, and so Jacob became a great multitude. All right, because from Jacob we got the nation of Israel. Okay, the 12 tribes and whatnot. And it came to pass that when thou, verse 17, and it came to pass that when thou leadest his seed out of Egypt, that broughtest them up to the Mount Sinai, and bowing the heavens, thou didst set fast the earth, movest the whole world, and madest the depths to tremble, and troublest the men of that age. And thy glory went through four gates of fire and of earthquake and of wind and of cold, that thou mightest give the law unto the seed of Jacob, and diligence unto the generation of Israel. Okay, so the law was given unto the seed of Jacob, so the 12 tribes of Israel, the nation of Israel. All right, and diligence as in Slakia. Diligence, careful and persistent work or effort. So the diligence of wanting to put in the right effort, to put in the right work for the Most High. Okay, that's what the nation of Israel was made to do. Even though we have 2/3 not being diligent, but 1/3, trying their best to put in the work. Just as we have, brothers in this truth trying their best to put in this word, push this word out. All right. Verse 20. And yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart, that thy law might bring forth fruit in them. Okay. So, the same wicked heart that had all the people during the time of Adam, during the time of Noah, breaking the laws, and going after their own lusts, that's still in the sense of like the whole false concept of free will, because there's no real free will. That's non-existent. But the free will, so-called free will that they perceived, is still in Israel. Slakia. It's still it's still in Israel, that the law might bring forth fruit in them. Okay, so with the wicked heart, if we overcome that wicked heart and put in diligence, we can bear fruit, and we through the law we can be diligent. It's like going against our wicked heart in order to serve the Most High. That's a very powerful thing to do, to go against your own lusts, to want to serve the Most High. That's a beautiful thing. All right. Verse 21. And for the first Adam, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed and was overcome. So be all they that are born of him. And so be all they that are born of him. So all the offspring of Adam, they have a wicked heart. But if they're able to not transgress the commandments of the Most High, that's where the beauty comes in it, because they are choosing the Most High over their own lusts. They're choosing the Most High over their own desires. That's a very powerful and beautiful thing. Okay, that's one of the beautiful things that I found in this chapter. All right. Verse 22. Thus infirmity was made permanent, and the law also in the heart of the people with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away and the evil abode still. All right. Verse 23. And Slakia. So the times passed away, and the years were brought to an end. Then didst thou raise thee up a servant called David, whom thou commandest to build a city unto thy name, and to offer incense and oblation unto thee therein. When this was done many years, then they that inhabited the city forsook thee. So after the time of David, after David had passed away, that's when David's offspring, the children of David, were basically going off All right. Verse 26, and in all things did even as Adam and all his generation had done, for they also had a wicked heart. Okay, so like as I said, they went off eventually after the time of David. Verse 27, and so thou gavest thy city over into the hands of thine enemies. Okay, then this is where we get into how the children of David, or the Israelites that had their own city, they had lost their city and it was given on to their enemies. All right. Verse 28, and their deeds then any better that inhabit Babylon? Are their Slakia, verse 28, are their deeds then any better that inhabit Babylon, that they should therefore have the dominion over Zion? So are the deeds of Babylon better than the deeds of the Israelites? That's the question being asked. That's I'm pretty sure that that's something that I'll speak for myself. That's something that I ask. Well, no, not fully to that extent, but it's something to ask. Well, not really, because we under Slakia. It's a little complicated, but at the end of the day, it's not very complicated if you actually know the answer to it. But it's basically like the question being asked is, are the Babylonians, are they better? Have they done better? Have they followed after the Most High better than the Israelites? That's the reason why they have dominion over the Israelites. That's the reason why they have power over the Israelites. Like that's what's being examined. He's examining himself, thinking that, or not himself, but the whole nation of Israel, thinking that are the Israelites truly worse than the Babylonians? Is that what is going on? Verse 29, for when I came thither and had seen impieties without number, then my soul saw many evildoers in this 13th year, so that my heart failed me. Okay, so again, his heart sunk seeing the Babylonians in power, the Babylonians with wealth and dominion over the Israelites. All right. Verse 30, for I have seen how thou sufferest them sinning, and hast spared wicked doers, and hast destroyed thy people, and hast preserved thine enemies, and hast not signified it. Okay, so he sees the Babylonians are sinning, and he spared them. They're not. The Babylonians aren't suffering, but the Israelites are suffering because they sin. The Israelites are suffering because they sin, but the Babylonians are not. They're being spared. They're being spared punishment for their wickedness. Okay. Verse 31. I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Zion? Now, basically, if you understand, some other precepts, it's basically to stay on topic and to cut it short. Basically, we the Israelites, we went off, we sinned, so we're suffering for it. Now, the Most High Yahawah, he wants to correct those. He only corrects those he loves. So because we are in this captivity where the Babylonians have dominion over us, the reason for that is because basically the Most High is spanking us. To cut it short, he's spanking us and punishing us so that we learn our lesson, and when we come back to him, we stay with him. All right, that's the lesson. That's what the Most High is basically doing through giving the Babylonians power over us. He's using them as a tool of punishment. It's not because he loves them more than us and he's letting things go, okay? Because if you don't love someone, you will allow them to just keep on going with their bad way. Like you see a bad child acting up, you will just let that child do whatever they want if they're in public and whatnot. You say, okay, well that's that parent's problem. They need to keep their kid in check and whatnot. Okay, like you don't make it your problem. You don't make it your issue. You stay out of it because you don't care about that child. It's the same way with the Most High Yahweh. He doesn't care about the Babylonians. He doesn't care about the heathens. That's why he's letting them do what they want. All right, he's letting them do what they want because down the line they're going to suffer for what they're doing. It's not they don't you don't get to stay acting up like that forever. There's going to be a time when it's all going to be put to an end. All right. And back to verse 31. They're not better than us, okay? Because we have the Most High Yahweh on our side. They don't. All right. The Most High deals with the Israelites. He doesn't deal with the heathens. All right. That's how we are actually better than them, and we're going through all this stuff. They're going to go through worse than what we're going through. All right. Verse 32. Or is there any other people that knoweth thee besides Israel? Or what generation hath so believed thy covenants as Jacob? Okay. Is there any? He's asking, are there anyone besides Israel that the Most High dealt with? Is there anyone besides Israel that the Most High gave his covenants, his law, statutes, and commandments to? That's the question being asked. And no, there isn't. No, there isn't. And we're going to prove it. And we're going to look more into it. Verse 32, and yet their reward appeareth not, and their labor hath no fruit. Okay, so the reward as in the punishment for their wickedness. That's what reward means in this context. And their labor hath no fruit. The labor of whatever they do, whatever the heathen does, it doesn't have any. It doesn't yield any spiritual fruit with the Most High. The fruit with the Most High, as in the Most High doesn't recognize anything that they do as good or worth rewarding. All right. For I have gone here and there through the heathen. I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth and think not upon thy commandments. Okay, again, they are wealthy, yes, carnally, but at the same time they're not following after the commandments of the Most High. Okay, they have wealth in the sense of the carnal wealth, but they don't have wealth spiritually. All right. Verse 34, weigh though therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world, and so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Okay, again, like I said before, only in Israel has the Most High's name been found. The Most High only dwelt with Israel. Verse 35, or when was it that they which dwelt upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. All right. So basically, this is the general concept that I found beautiful was how the Most High, he only dealt with Israel. All right. That's number one. But number two, it's also the combination of understanding that while the heathen are enjoying themselves, which this chapter doesn't fully go into it that much, but knowing the scriptures prior to this, we understand that we went off, and that's why we're being punished. So it's a simple fact that the Most High loves us. That's why He's going so hard on us, because He actually wants us to get it. He actually wants us to do well. That's where the chastisement comes from. All right. So I hope that whoever watched this video could actually see the beauty in this chapter, like the beauty in understanding that this is also a feeling that maybe somewhat another brother in this truth could feel, because I believe I did to a certain extent prior to coming to this truth. Like, why is it that you have my thought process was, why is it that we have these black people suffering in the ghettos and whatnot, and these white people are just enjoying themselves and whatnot? Like, it's just not fair. That was what was in my mind. Okay, but now being in the truth, I have the answers to that. Okay, I understand, but at the same time, it's a very saddening thing. Okay, it's a very saddening thing to see that the Israelites are suffering now, but our enemies, who are doing what, homosexuality, transgenderism and whatnot, and all of these crazy wicked things that they make legal in their time, and they push it out and forward it. They're not being punished for it immediately. They're not being punished for it immediately. But we know through the Spirit, that they're going to be punished for it soon. All right. Like, I know I am keep on, not rationalizing it, but like bringing that up or answering that question being asked in this chapter, but because I want you to know, anyone that who doesn't know this 100%, to know the answer to that. Like, I want you to know that there is an answer to that. Okay, like, there's a reason behind it all. It's not just Yahweh hates us. It's not just, oh, we're a disgusting thing, like that one Moabite bitch was saying. I forgot her name, Tia whatever or something like that. So, 2 T's or something like that. She was saying that how so-called black people are a cursed nation. But then when she goes in it, she proves that so-called black people are Israelites. Okay, she just doesn't understand. She's an idiot. All right. But with that, I hope this lesson was edifying. I hope you saw the beauty in this. I hope this also boosted your faith. All right. And with that, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahawah, BaHashem YAHAWASHI, BaHashem YAHAWADAH. And with that, I want to say Shalom.